Hi and welcome to the channel. I'm Laura. Today's class is all about working on your yoga toes. So we're going to work really heavily into getting into mobility into the feet, the ankles, working on strength and stretching into those areas. Also, that will in turn work into your lower calves as well. So this is a nice vinyasa flow. It will be a challenge into your balance and your strength into your feet. We're going to get started nice and easily. Go ahead and come into a cross-legged seat. And we're going to just start with a little massage for our feet and our toes. So go ahead and grab whichever foot you want to start with, left or right. And we'll just start with some simple massage, kneading into the ball of the foot, working the thumbs into those spaces, at the same time using the fingers to massage the top of the foot. I think we forget about the top of the foot. That can get equally as tight as the bottom. Most of us may be familiar with plantar fasciitis, where you have that tightening across the bottom of the foot that can lead into so much pain, restriction into the movement of the bottom of the foot. So as you work into these exercises, if you do struggle with that, you may notice some improvement, especially when you feel some intense stretching onto the bottom of the foot. So now, as we work along the surface of our foot, make sure that we get the arch, maybe even into the heel a little bit. Now we're going to go with a little self-imposed toe stretch. This can be quite intense. You're going to take your fingers and work them into the small spaces in between the toes. You might have to work that pinky toe to the outside just slightly, and then you don't have to come super far, because of course our toes aren't made to stretch super far. Maybe some of us have more ability than others, but we're just going to take a little squeeze with those fingers in between the toes. Make a fist with the right hand or the left, depending on which foot you're doing, and squeeze that foot in between the fingers. Naturally, you'll feel the toes spread. This can be a little intense at first. Make it a pumping action with the fist. Squeeze into those toes. It's kind of one of those hurts so good movements. When you're ready, we're going to switch it out and take the opposite foot. Work on that little massage. Again, using the thumbs to knead into the arch of the foot. Maybe spread the toes apart. Feeling things move. Maybe feel some things you didn't notice before. Don't forget the top of the foot, working that back and forth as well. When you're ready, go ahead and take the left fingers and thread them in between the toes of the opposite foot, again, depending on what foot you're working on. I always have to work my pinky toe to get it to the outside of my pinky finger. And then softly begin with that little squeeze of the fist, squeezing the toes and the right foot. Feeling the toes spread apart, maybe just slightly. And at the same time, you can use your opposite hand to continue to massage the foot as well. Finally, go ahead and release the foot. We'll go ahead and spin ourselves around to face the front of the mat. We'll just start with some simple stretches into the feet and ankles to start. So begin by just pointing and flexing the feet. Reach the toes as far to the front of the room as you can, and then flex so much into the feet that the heel even lifts up off of the mat and you feel the quads activate as the feet lift. We'll point and flex for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good. From here, we're going to take some single ankle rolls, starting with the right ankle. Just go ahead and start to draw some circles with the toes rolling the ankle. And then let's reverse the circles. I have a little clicking going into my ankle, but it doesn't hurt, so that can be just natural. Let's reverse and take it with the left foot, taking those ankle circles, starting out in whichever direction you start with, because we will reverse it up. Go ahead and reverse your circles, starting to feel that top of the foot activate all the way into the front of the shin, even into the calf. And from here, let's go ahead and just bring the feet so that the toes are pointing straight up. And then we're going to take some inversions and eversions. Now, simply what that means to start, we're going to begin with the outside edge of the foot, and we're going to turn that outside edge so it faces or points more towards the front of the mat. And as I do this, if you look at your video, you'll see that the soles of my feet are now virtually facing each other, almost like they would in our butterfly pose. So we're stretching into the tops of the feet and the outside of the ankles. The outside of the foot is pointing towards the front of the room. We're going to reverse this and now try to get the inside edge of the foot to face the front edge of the mat, almost like we're trying to turn the tops of the feet in so the tops of the feet try to touch. Virtually impossible, although I don't know how mobile your ankles or your feet are, but this is a really tough one for me. Let's switch it out. Again, turn the outside edge of the feet so it comes to face the front edge of the mat. And then once more, we're going to try that with the inside edge, reaching the arches towards the top side of the mat, almost trying to get the top edges of the feet to kiss. Very good. Go ahead and relax the feet. From here, we're going to cross the ankles. We'll roll over onto the shins and come to a seat onto our heels for our hero pose. Often a challenge for many, not only because you're having this seated pose onto the knees, but also all that weight is focused right onto the heels and onto the ankles and tops of the feet. So this can be hard for many of us to hold. You can always have a blanket underneath the feet to pad the tops of the feet. Sometimes a thicker mat can really be helpful. So if you're moving deeper into your yoga practice, you may want to consider investing into a little bit thicker of a mat. From our hero pose, you can stay right here, toughing it out, trying to get the tops of those feet to acclimate to this position. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, you can take the fingertips to the mat, start to lean back, stretching further into the tops of the feet. Maybe walk the hands back a little further, the knees lifting up off of the mat. And if you want to challenge your balance and also your strength into the tops of the feet, you can start to lift the hands away, maybe bring them to heart center. Inhale and breathe. Finding a focal point out in front of you. And then slowly lower the hands, allow the knees to softly land onto the mat. You can lean forward, come into tabletop, release the weight from those ankles. If it feels good, maybe give them a little rotation. And then when you're ready, we're going to tuck the toes, push back into a downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, start with the knees deeply bent, as this is our first down dog of the practice. Spread into the fingers. So the fingers are slightly turned out. You're pressing firmly into that index finger and also into the thumb so that you have some of the pressure taken off of the wrists. Spread the shoulders down the back. And from here, we're going to start to maybe straighten one leg at a time. Pressing the heel down. It doesn't need to reach all the way to the mat, but we're just trying to push them a little further. Moving one leg at a time as we slowly walk out our dog. Starting to feel the stretch into the back of the leg, all the way from the heel and the bottom of the foot, up through the calf and the hamstrings. Down dog is a full body stretch, but it is absolutely one of my favorite stretches for getting into the back of the legs and into the feet. When you're ready, come to stillness in your down dog, and we'll hold here for 3 breaths. Inhale.
Exhale, release. Breathe in, expand. Exhale, release. Last breath. Release on the exhale. From here, we're going to bend into the knees. Come deeply as you bend, and then you come high up onto the toes of the feet. Keep this lower body position, and we're holding into this rocket dog position. So almost like we're poised to jump to the top of our mat. Staying on our tiptoes, we're going to start to walk the hands back. Slowly walking ourselves back into a toe stand. So staying high up on the toes, heels are lifted. And you can stay right here with the fingertips connecting to the mat because we're going to do some forward fold lifts in a toe stand position. So first get a little acclimated here. Make sure that you're balanced, that all 10 of your toes are touching and firmly rooted down into the mat. With your fingertips planted onto the mat in front of you, we're going to stay on the toes, but we're going to start to lift in the hips, coming into this folded position on our tippy toes. So lifting high, really press into the mat. Try to get those heels up off the ground as high as you can. The head just hangs and relaxes. Tailbone lifts up to the sky. And then let's release, staying on the toes, but we're going to drop the hips down to come to the heels. We'll take that 2 more times. Inhale. And exhale. Start to lift the hips, coming into this forward fold, diving down, lifting high up with the heels. Really feel those feet working. And then inhale, lowering back down. Trust me, your feet are going to feel a little tired after this class. 1 more. Exhale, lift the hips up. And then inhale, we'll lower back down. Now we're going to move into more of a strengthening and balance challenge coming into our toe stand. So even if you feel like you will fall, just give it a try and see where you end up in your toe stand. So first, start maybe taking one hand up off of the mat, and then slowly start to release the opposite hand until you can come into a balanced position, maybe the hands to heart center in your toe stand. I'm sure the ankles and the toes are starting to get tired. We're going to take a twist as we exhale. Bring the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Inhale in your twist, and exhale, maybe deepen a little more. On your next inhale, slowly come back to center. I feel the wobbles happening, especially as I move in this posture. Inhale here, and then exhale, we'll twist over to the right. The left elbow goes to the outside of the right knee. Maybe push that elbow into the knee as you exhale and deepen a little further in your twist. And then again, let's return back to center, moving slowly, trying to maintain that balance. Very good. From here, we'll lower the hands down. Lift the hips up, coming once more into a forward fold on the tiptoes. And then release those feet down. I bet that feels really good. A little release onto the ankles. If you want to lift the toes up off of the mat, allow the blood flow to return back into the lower limbs, into the feet. We'll take a moment. And then from here, we're going to spin the toes out at a diagonal. Maybe open up the heels to at least hip width or slightly wider, preparing for our Malasana. So from Malasana, we're going to lower the hips down, bringing the hips down and the tailbone in between the heels. You can always have a block underneath the tailbone to take some of the pressure off of the heels and the ankles. and help you lower into Malasana. Now, if the heels do not want to connect all the way with the mat, I'd like you to take your mat or even a rolled up blanket and get that underneath the heels so you have some sort of support underneath the back of the heels so you can fully bring the weight down. Trying to get as much weight focused towards the back, the tailbone, and into the heels as possible so you can really work into that ankle mobility. Now, from where you're at, if you want to shift from left to right, maybe pick up one heel and lower the other, you can do that. This is always a nice way to ease into our yogi squat. Kind of works into our inner thighs and just allows us a little movement before we come into stillness. And when you're ready, we'll ease into our yogi squat. Lift the chest, stay wide across the collarbone, and push into the outside or the inside of the knees with the elbows. Inhale. Exhale, relax. Inhale. Exhale, soften. And from here, we're going to come into those forward fold lifts once more, but this time we will keep our feet connected with the earth. So place the hands down in front of you on the mat, press down, and then at the same time, lift the hips up. You can maybe turn the toes inward just slightly as you reach up with the back, almost like you're rounding into the back as you would in cat pose. And then from here, we'll lower down into Malasana. When you're ready, lift up, coming into this deep forward fold. You can hang. You can press into your back and round if that feels good, like a wonderful stretch. But we're going to work into the legs, work into the ankles a few more times, lowering the hips, and then press up, reaching the tailbone to the sky, moving the feet as needed so that they track in line with the knees. Remember that we don't need to stay stagnant in any posture. Move to what feels good for your body. So keeping the toes in line with the knees will feel best for most of us. In our forward fold, we'll move once more into Malasana. And then one last time, coming into forward fold. Spin those toes to face the front edge of the mat. Have the feet about hip width distance apart. Then take the knees into a slight bend. Start to tuck the tailbone. Press into the mat with the feet as you rise up into your Tadasana. Step up into the middle of the mat. We're going to make sure that we have space on our mat. From your Tadasana, we're going to take a few movements from going in our standing mountain pose into raising up onto our tiptoes, lifting the arms up. When you're ready, inhale the arms up, coming up onto the tiptoes, activating all the way through the front line of the body, reach towards the sky, and then exhale, lower the arms down. When you're ready, inhale, rise up. Exhale, lower it down. Again, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. We'll take two more of these. Inhale, lift it up. And exhale, lower it down. Moving into our eagle pose, we'll shift the weight into our left foot. Start to come onto the tiptoes of the right foot. And then we'll begin to wrap the right knee over the left. You could stay right here, or you can go for the full eagle bind by taking the right foot behind the left calf. From here, slowly sink the hips down. Take the right arm out to a 90-degree angle. Stack the left elbow on top. And then from here, either the back of the palms touch, or you can go for the full eagle arms so that the palms touch. Sink even further down into the hips. Try to maintain your balance. I feel some wobbles here. My left foot is always a challenge. Lift the elbows. Stay strong in the core. And when you're ready, we're going to stay balancing on that left foot. Unwind the right. Start to shift forward, leaning forward with the torso, kicking back into our warrior three pose. Pressing that right foot back, keeping it flexed, a slight bend in the left knee. On an inhale, we'll rise up, balancing, still on that left foot, keeping the right knee and lifting that right knee out in front of you with a bent right knee. And then start to unwind the arms. From here, I know that left foot is getting tired. The ankle is getting a little tired of holding here in this balance, but you can work through it. Stay in this posture. We're going to take our hand to big toe pose. So go ahead and reach for that right big toe with your right peace fingers. Extend the right leg out. You can have a slight bend in the knee. Draw the right shoulder back so you feel the right femur plug into the right hip. And then when you're ready, slowly release the right foot, but keep it lifted, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, slowly lower. Return the right foot to the mat to meet the left. Maybe go ahead and shake out that left foot. Give it a little turn. It did a lot of work in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take that same movement onto the right side, shift the weight over into the right leg, maintain your balance, start to come up onto the left toes. From here, wrap the left knee over the right. Maybe go for the full eagle bind, taking the left ankle behind the right. Begin to sink into the hips, sitting back as you would in chair. From here, take the left elbow out. We're working in the low body, but now we're starting to add into our eagle arms. Right arm goes on top of the left. Maybe take the full bind, sink a little deeper into the hips. Keep the elbows lifted, but the shoulders still drawing down the back. Inhale. As you exhale, start to lean forward with the torso, coming into warrior three. Slight bend in the right knee, straightening that left leg out behind you, flexing the left foot. Hold here. Inhale. And exhale. Keep moving the breath slowly while keeping the balance on the right leg. Start to shift up, coming into a single leg balance with the left knee bent and in front of you. Go ahead and unwind the arms, preparing for a hand to big toe posture on this side. Take the left peace fingers, wrap them around that left big toe. Start to bend or unbend, I guess, the left knee and straighten it out in front of you. Draw the left shoulder back. Stay nice and tall. Feel yourself plugging that left leg into the hip joint. From here, we're going to keep the left leg lifted, but release the hold on the foot for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Softly lower down. Very good. If you need to, go ahead and kick out that right foot. Release it for a moment. Go ahead and do so. We're going to come into chair pose and work our way into a balance. So when you're ready, settle with the big toes together, the heels just slightly separated. On the next inhale, lower the hips down, shift them back. Lift the arms up alongside the ears as you come into chair. Hold here. Now going for our balance in chair pose, we're going to shift onto the toes, lift the heels. So we have a toe stand in chair. With this balance, keep the heels lifted. Start to swing the arms back behind you like airplane arms. And then continue to keep the heels lifted. Straighten the knees. So we're coming into this forward fold balance, diving forward with the chest, keeping the arms raised behind you, almost like we're diving into a swimming pool. Lower the chest as much as you can. Try to maintain this balance for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lower the heels back to the earth. Inhale back up to chair pose. Pause in your chair pose. Inhale here. As you exhale, bring the arms to heart center, the hands. We're going to slowly lower into our toe stand or a toe squat. So try to do this without using your hands. Again, challenge yourself. Lift the heels. Start to sink down. So you slowly come into a toe squat. Moving from our toe squat, we're going to come into our toe stretch. So we'll stay on the toes, but lower the knees to the earth. Again, you can use your hands to assist you, but if you want to make it a challenge, try to shift forward, allowing the knees to softly land onto the mat. And now from here, we're going to look to make sure that all 10 of our toes are tucked underneath us. And we're going to take a seat in this very intense toe stretch, sometimes called toe crusher in class. If you need to lean forward and take some of the weight off of the toes, by all means do so. This is a really strong stretch. We'll hold here for about 5 breaths. If you're all the way back, softly lean forward, untuck the toes, maybe give them a soft little wrap against the mat. And from here, I'm going to back up just slightly so I stay more into the center. And we're going to come into a final stretch into the front of our feet. So since we really work the bottom of the feet with the intense toe stretch, from here, in this tabletop position, we're going to press down into the tops of the feet. Press so much so that the shins lift off, and then press into the mat with the hands round into the back as you would into your cat pose. So rounding into the upper body, lifting the shins up off of the mat. Exhale, and we'll inhale, lower, come into our cow pose. Allow the belly to drop. Chest lifts. From here, let's exhale once more. Press into the mat. Lift the shins off of the mat. And then inhale to your cow pose. One more time. Exhale, round. And then inhale to your cow pose. Return to neutral. Go ahead and sit back onto the heels for your hero pose. After all that work into our feet, this probably feels like a really restful pose at this time. That's where we'll end our class today into our foot exercise, strengthening and mobility and balance class. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm guessing that your feet are feeling all sorts of warmth and feeling like they really got a workout this morning. As always, I hope you enjoyed this. Hit that like button and subscribe for new classes every single week. Ask me any questions. You can always feel free to drop me a comment below. Take it good. I already lost my breath. Have a good day. Hope you have a really, really great week. Make it a good one. Bye.